Hi, welcome to week 2 of our fall harvest quilt along, and this week we should have everything all cut out and ready to go, and we're going to start putting the blocks together. Okay, so this week we're going to be working on our tomato blocks and on our great big pumpkin block. So the method that we're going to be using on a lot of these blocks is called the stitch and flip method. So we'll show you exactly how to do that here with the tomato block. Also, something to keep in mind as you're constructing all of your vegetables is there's going to be a right half and a left half, and they're going to be perfectly mirrored. So it's just going to be the exact same stuff but mirrored when you put it together. So keep that in mind. And it doesn't really matter too much whether it's the dark side on the right or the dark side on the left. Just probably want to keep them the same. So like on the tomatoes, make sure all the dark sides are on the same side, all their light sides are on the same side, and so with subsequent vegetables as well. So let's go ahead and get started putting our little tomato block together. Okay, so here we have our tomato block all laid out, and I do have half of it sewn together and then the stem is sewn together, and we have our other pieces that we're going to go ahead and construct here with you today. So for the stitch and flip method, you're going to take whatever square goes on top, and you're going to just go ahead and fold that in half on the diagonal. I'm just going to go ahead and give that a nice finger press, and then put it on whatever corner it needs to go on for the stitching. And that will be, of course, be in the pattern directions. I'm going to go ahead and fold this one as well for this piece. And then for this piece, because we do have a directional print here, we want to make sure all of our lines run horizontal. Just double check if you have that issue. So I'm going to be stitching along this direction. So I want to just put it on there and fold it down and make sure that after I fold it, it's going to be facing the right direction. So you can see it flips from the vertical to the horizontal after I've sewn it. So make sure that you're paying attention to that if you do have any directional prints on your tomato, on any of your blocks. So now that that is done and those lines are in, we're going to go ahead and take them over to the sewing machine, and we're going to stitch directly on that fold line on all those pieces. All right, so we're just going to sew directly on the line on all of those sections. I'm just going to do a little chain piecing here because I have them all in place and ready to go. And last one. So now that we've got that sewn, we're going to go ahead and cut off our 1/4 inch seam. And doing it this way is just going to keep things so much easier to cut out, and it's also going to eliminate any bias edges that we're sewing on. We get to sew it together before we cut it off and create that bias edge, so it's not going to shift and move on you as much. Trim off this one. Just make sure that when you're doing this, you are cutting off the correct side of the seam. Then take all of your pieces and press them. I do recommend doing this with your iron, not just a finger press at this point. I'm going to just finger press them really quick so that you can see how we're going to put these all together, but definitely take the time to go ahead and do that with your iron. So now that we have all of our pieces pressed and ready to go, we're going to sew the parts together. These two are going to go with that one, and then sew all 3 of them to the top of here. Put our 2 halves together and add our stem, and they will be done. So let's go ahead and get them sewn together. All right, now that you have all of your tomato blocks sewn up, there's a couple ways you can go about this. If you get them all done and you have extra time and you want to, you can go ahead and sew them all together in their final layout with the strips between them. If you don't have time or you want to save that till the end, that's totally fine too. Go ahead and set them aside, and we'll get back to those in the final week when we construct the quilt top. So when you're done with those, then go ahead and grab your pumpkin, finish up your pumpkin block, and the same thing, it just has one set of border around the outside since there's only one of them. So I'm going to go ahead and get my tomatoes all sewn together so you can see how that looks when you sew them together as a block, and then we'll be done for the week. So now I have all 4 of my tomatoes sewn together and they're ready to go into our final layout. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my pieces for my pumpkin out and get it finished up as well, and then we will see you next week. Bye.